Florida, which is funded by National Science Foundation of USA. Professor has published 53 research papers in referred international journals. Professor has also published 6 papers in ASME Journal of Heat Transfer and 9 papers in International Journal of Heat Transfer and Mass Transfer. Professor also did many consultancy work for BHEL, SAIL, Visakhapatnam Steel Plant, NSTL, and BRDE, Ahmednagar. Professor also conducted he also acted as a convener for refresher programs. Um, Professor is a fellow of Institute of Engineers and fellow of AP Academy of Sciences. Professor served as a resource person in workshops and refresher courses. He is a member in UGC sponsored research programs in Andhra University. He worked for 7 years. In 7 years as in charge for other than academics, he worked as an in charge of computer section for salaries and pensions in Andhra University. Professor also served as a expert committee member for Andhra Pradesh Pollution Control Board from 2009 to present. So I now request Professor Dharmarao Garu to please take over the session and give his valuable knowledge, share his valuable knowledge to all the participants. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Actually,
Sir, shall we share the screen, sir? Yes, sir. It is now visible, sir. Your screen is visible for us, sir.
oh, screen is visible? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Yeah, initially, I had some access problem with my computer. I think it's resolved now. So, is it? I am audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. Uh, Good afternoon, all participants and organizers. Well, my topic today is physical law-based finite volume method. Finite volume method is used in almost all computational fluid dynamic softwares. So there is a misapprehension that all are not CFD softwares, only those employing fluid dynamics and heat transfer, they are CFD softwares. So with that meaning, I'm saying popular among them is ANSYS Fluent, ANSYS is a larger software which Fluent is a module. The ANSYS uses FEM, also finite element method, also for its structural analysis and also model analysis. And there are many other functions it does. However, Fluent model, it only uses finite volume method, which deals with the CFD problems, CFD analysis. Then OpenFOAM. OpenFOAM is purely a CFD software. Well, let's learn something about the broadly about how the CFD analysis solves problems, physical problems, and in that finite volume method, how it plays an important role. So any CFD analysis or CFD model consists of firstly pre-processing. We take a physical model. As an example, we can consider a fluid flowing in a rectangular duct or a channel. So this is fluid dynamics problem. To add heat transfer to it, we can consider that the fluid is being heated while it flows. Well, once this physical model is given to us, then we have to make a CFD model. In that, what we do is a geometric model is created in computer for the duct volume, and this is called solution domain. Then how the problem is solved? The problem is solved by a certain number of governing equations and followed by boundary condition, along with boundary conditions. The CFD model is characterized by continuity, momentum, and energy balance equations. Here we have Navier-Stokes equations for incompressible flow, and they are the equations used for laminar flow. So those equations I'll give to you later, because the original Navier-Stokes equations are very large. Many simplifications are made and are used for duct flows. Then Reynolds averaged Navier-Stokes equations assisted by turbulence models are used in case of turbulent flow. Since the governing equations also, you can see that the governing equations are limited, then how so many problems are solved? So it is the boundary conditions which actually define the problem. So I often tell the students that it is the same mud. The sculptor makes Vinayaka, and also after that he makes Sri Rama. Like that, many idols he makes. Like that, it is the boundary conditions which actually define the problem. Mesh generation. The solution domain is divided into a number of grids. So the first step is the first and important step is mesh generation. As you might be knowing, all the numerical methods are they give us results only at discrete points, called nodes. So that is done by dividing the solution domain into a number of grids. So it is a three-dimensional figure which you are seeing. So there are three-dimensional grids. Inflation. So here one must remember that when the fluid is flowing, it is in the near the wall. The velocity changes greatly. There is a great change in the velocity near the wall in the boundary layer. So near to the wall, finer grids we must give, and away from the wall, the grids can be coarser. So this is called variable grid, and also inflation in ANSYS Fluent. This facility is there in ANSYS Fluent. first layer thickness. So when you are using a variable grid, you must fix the first layer. So from the first layer, it gradually the grid size goes on increasing. The first layer is very important because if you are solving a fluid mechanics problem, the friction coefficients and the heat transfer coefficients, they are obtained, they are calculated based on the first grid thickness. So the first layer thickness, there is a facility in ANSYS again, in ANSYS Fluent, to prescribe, to give, to input the first grid thickness. So this we calculate, so we can give randomly the grid, but also we will get the results, but the results will not be accurate. If you want accurate results, you have to follow this procedure. So in turbulent flows, the laminar sublayer, you have to calculate the thickness of the laminar sublayer, and that you have to give as the first layer or less than that, but not more than that. Then you have to input properties. Properties are dependent on temperature and in certain cases on concentration. Mostly in most of our problems, the properties depend on temperature. So here two options are available for property equations in ANSYS Fluent. Because whatever I'm telling, they hold good whether you use a software or whether you write your own code. But in both the cases, these are essential. They are polynomial and piecewise linear options. So the two options are there: polynomial equation and piecewise. That is, you form linear equations for every consecutive pair. So this is called piecewise linear. Piecewise linear option is used for properties which are highly nonlinear or change irregularly with temperature. No regular format. So viscosity for oils is input using piecewise linear option. Thermal conductivity can be given a polynomial equation. So these polynomial equations you form first, and the coefficients you give in the ANSYS Fluent software. The same thing you do even when you write a code, you give equations in your code. Solver, discretization. A set of algebraic equations is generated at all grid centers by finite volume method. Well, you start with partial differential equations, the momentum, continuity momentum, and energy balance equations. Leaving the setting aside the continuity equation, the momentum balance equation, and the energy balance equation. These are the PDEs, partial differential equations. So these equations are not directly solved by any software or even by you. They must be transformed into a set of algebraic equations. So this is called discretization. So this discretization is done by finite volume method. So finite volume method does a very important job, that is discretization. Also, the mesh generation is as per the requirements of discretization. So the finite volume mesh generation is different from finite difference mesh generation. Implementation of boundary conditions. Boundary conditions are implemented on surfaces, edges, and corners. So if anybody has written the code, he may be knowing that the boundary conditions in ANSYS Fluent, they are implemented not only on the surfaces, but on edges and corners also. You might have studied about edges and corners and heat transfer. The boundary conditions are input in different modules in a software. So if you are using a software, in different modules, you give each boundary condition, one after another. However, if you write a code, then implementation of boundary conditions is a separate entity. That is, at all boundary nodes, you discretize the PDE again and form algebraic equations separately. Solution of algebraic equations. Well, now a set of algebraic equations is obtained. Now, so these algebraic equations, they contain the variables at all nodes. So the values of these variables at all these nodes will be found by solving these algebraic equations. Fortunately, in the solution of such equations, whether you do it by FDM or FEM, even in structural mechanics problems and in fluid mechanics problems, the set of algebraic equations you get, they have a standard name. They are in the form of tridiagonal matrix. That is, in each row, only three variables, three elements are present. The remaining are absent. So it's a simpler case of algebraic equations. For this, Thomas developed an algorithm which is called tridiagonal matrix algorithm, TDMA. So using this is an explicit method. So straight away the variables are found. It is a very simple formula also. For computer, it takes only a few seconds. So by using this, you solve these equations. Then after you get the results are velocities, temperatures, pressures, pressure field, etc. So these results are shown by ANSYS Fluent. So this is called post processing. Even if you write a code, you can you'll be getting the print of all these values, pressures, velocity, and temperature fields. And from these values, as I said, from the wall grid and all that, the surface friction, drag, surface heat flux, such the required variables, required parameters are calculated from output results. Physical laws in finite volume method. Continuity in control volume. So I have shown the continuity equation in 3 dimensions. Dou rho u by dou x plus dou rho v by dou y plus dou rho w by dou z. So u, v, and w are the components of the velocity, capital V vector, you can say. The actual velocity can be in arbitrary direction. So what mathematics people did is they resolved its components in x and y and z directions. They are u, v, w. Separately for each, they have formed momentum balance equations. So if you solve those equations, you'll be getting u, v, and w separately, from which you know the capital V, which is square root of u square plus v square plus w square, like that. So a grid is called control volume in finite volume method. In finite volume method, the continuity equation is integrated over the control volume. So one important feature in finite volume method, and it is due to this feature only the finite volume method has become so popular, and that is that the grid or control volume, we call it. For each grid or control volume, each term, each derivative in the continuity equation and in all other equations, each derivative is integrated over the control volume. So when you integrate the continuity equation over control volume, you get the mass flow rates. The integrated equation gives the mass flow rate balance between the boundaries of the control volume. Hence, FEM obeys physical law of each grid. That is, in the or each control volume, you find that the mass flow rate in is equal to mass flow rate out. So that is nothing but continuity equation. And for these equations, I'll I'll be explaining to you later. So this is what I meant. So this derivative is integrated over control volume delta P, and delta V equal to A into delta X. So A delta X, rho U A is the mass flow rate. So mass flow rate entering is equal to mass flow rate leaving. So it automatically comes in finite volume method for each control volume or grid. This is one thing about continuity equations. Also, the FEM has something special about momentum and energy equations too. The momentum and energy balance equations are in conservation form are used in finite volume method. In this form, they satisfy continuity automatically. Conversion from original to conservation form, and just an example I am showing. The original form of momentum equation, all of you know, is the transient, the most general equation I am showing. Dou rho u by dou t plus rho u dou u by dou x plus rho v dou u by dou y plus rho w dou u by dou z. So here you can find that the variable is u always, and these are called coefficient rho u, rho v. Here in this term, u appears as a variable and also as a coefficient rho u. So minus dou p by dou x. For internal flow, you have this minus dou p by dou x, the pressure gradient, plus dou by dou x mu. So these terms are very, you are very familiar with these terms. Dou by dou x, mu dou u by dou x, so dou u by dou y and dou u by dou z. Now the continuity equation is this. Now how we convert the this momentum equation, u momentum equation, which is in original form and which is also called non-conservation form, into a conservation form. And what is that conservation form? So what we do is each term in continuity equation is multiplied by u. So here I have multiplied by u each term. Then this is the original form. I've just carried it here also, the same equation. So this term, I've taken example of this term, u dou rho u by dou x, and rho, that is in continuity equation, and in momentum equation rho u dou u by dou x. So this is the form d of uv, which is equal to u v du plus u dv. So the same formula. So u and u also will go into this. This rho u also will go into the brackets. So in the next, so dou rho u by dou x plus rho u dou u by dou x equal to dou by dou x of rho u. So this is called conservation form. So thus it is obtained in a similar way. These derivatives are also obtained. You can see dou u dou rho v dou u by dou y. Similarly, this one. So this is the conservation form. So what you find here is that only these are called convection terms. Only the convection terms. Convection terms means the convection terms are converted into conservation form. So the right hand side is not touched. So this is called conservation form. So as you can see, it includes the continuity equation now in this form. So automatically, during discretization, it obeys the continuity equation. This equation also obeys the continuity equation. So I have just listed these equations: u momentum equation, which I have seen just before, and v momentum equation. The difference is only that now v is variable. So it has coefficients also, but v is variable. So on the right hand side, you can see the difference, particularly dou v, and similarly w, momentum equation. As I have said, for a three-dimensional model, three-dimensional problem, or three-dimensional problem, you have to consider all these three momentum equations. So if heat transfer also is there, if heat transfer is not there, then energy balance equation is not required. If heat transfer is there, then energy balance equation is appended to the momentum equations. So the heat energy balance equation is rho CPT. This is the accumulation term. These are again called convection terms in the energy balance. Rho Cp here, additionally Cp is coming, and instead of W, T is coming. So then that way you can simply remember the left hand side. On the right hand side, the instead of mu, K, not for W, T. So this is the thing. And here plus Q. Q is the internal heat generation rate. If there is some heat generation rate, like in nuclear reactors, there is heat generation or any chemical reaction or due to electrical resistance, there can be many reasons for internal heat generation. Momentum equation. So certain terms which we'll be using later. So let's get conversant with those terms. Momentum equation is a force balance. So just now I have seen the first derivative is momentum accumulation rate. It is present only in transient equations. In steady equations, it is not present. In steady state equations, the left-hand side term is called, it represents inertial force. It is also called advection term. The first day, Professor Prasad Garu was using this term, advection, inertial force or advection term. Pressure force. The first term on right hand side is it represents pressure force, and the other terms they represent viscous force or shear force. The effect of viscous force is causing shear, so it is also called shear. Energy equation is a heat balance. Heat accumulation rate, the first term, first derivative, then the heating rate by convection, heating rate by conduction on the right hand side, then internal heat generation rate. Navier-Stokes equations for incompressible flow. So we use in our today's lecture we are limited ourselves to incompressible flow. So that is the density being constant. However, density can be a function of temperature. We consider that. A laminar flow. Navier-Stokes equations are the momentum and energy balance equations for laminar flow. So the momentum energy balance equation which we use, they are the Navier-Stokes and they are derived by Navier-Stokes. They are used only for laminar. They are applicable only for laminar flow. However, these equations are applicable for internal and external flows. Turbulent flow. For the case of turbulent flow, modified Navier-Stokes equations, which include Reynolds averaged stresses, are used for turbulent flow. So these Reynolds average stresses, they are the gift by Pranthl's mixing length theory. So they are used very extensively. Now, in external flows, well, if you consider firstly the internal flow, it is called a bounded flow. That is, the fluid enters a duct or a pipe, and it is bounded by the pipe wall. However, when the say water is flowing in open channel or a flat plate, at the bottom it is bounded by the plate or wall, but on the top surface it is not. It is free. It is a free surface. So how do you? The same equations are used. So up to from wall to up to certain height, only there is change in the velocity. So that distance is called boundary layer. So we solve those momentum and energy balance equations only in the boundary layer. Outside the boundary layer, the velocity is constant. You don't have to solve those equations. So for this reason, these equations, the same Navier-Stokes equations, they are popularly known as boundary layer equations when we solve external flow problems. Convection diffusion equations. Well, as I've been already telling, the left-hand side, it in momentum balance and also in energy balance, it contains terms which represent convection, and on the right-hand side, it heat conduction and their viscous force. So the viscous force or heat conduction, these have a common name, that is diffusion. Momentum diffusion and thermal diffusion. These are the alternate names to them. So generally, these terms are called diffusion terms. Actually, there is also another equation which we are not concerned presently. That is the equation for mass transfer. So there we have mass diffusion again. So the diffusion is three types actually. Momentum diffusion, thermal diffusion, mass diffusion. Open channel flow. The pressure gradient is zero in open channel flow. When you solve the problem of a flow or a flat plate, you don't have to consider the pressure gradient. That is in the x direction. The pressure, there is no change in the pressure. Minus dou p by dou x. There is no change in pressure because everywhere the free surface, if water is flowing, the free surface of water is pressed by atmospheric air. Atmospheric air everywhere presses the free surface with the same pressure, atmospheric pressure. So there is no change in the pressure. So pressure gradient is zero. Well, we'll consider some examples of problems which we take up in CFD analysis. So these can be broadly divided into internal and external flow applications. Internal flow. Air cooling of electronic devices using heat sinks. They are like computer CPUs and even other electronic devices. On the CPU, this is the CPU, the crown and the sink is the heat sink is mounted. It is in the form of a crown. It is a fin assembly actually. So for air cooling, such arrangement is used. Pipeline layout and design. There are professional softwares for pipeline layout and design in petroleum refineries and in other large companies, large industries. These use CFD analysis only. Hydrogen cooling of electric generators in power plants. The electric generators, when they generate very high temperature, air cooling is not sufficient, so they are cooled by hydrogen. Serpentine channel glycol water cooling of lithium ion batteries and PM proton exchange membrane fuel cells at sub-zero atmospheric temperatures. Well, actually liquid cooling, when air cooling is not sufficient, even in computer workstations, computers are very big, like computer workstations, they use water cooling because air cooling is not sufficient. So water cannot be used. So water, how the water is circulated there on the hot surface, they actually, if you take lithium ion batteries, they take a metal plate. In the metal plate, they engrave a serpentine channel. So the metal plate has an inlet and an outlet. Above the metal plate and below the metal plate, they place two lithium ion battery cells. So they through this serpentine channel, the coolant flows. Water is used normally. However, in areas like in cold countries, there the temperature is sub-zero, below 0 degrees centigrade, where water freezes. So they mix glycol in water that decreases the freezing point. So glycol is thus used. So glycol water mixtures are used. So depending on the lower temperature, they mix more and more glycol. Radiators and oil coolers in automobiles and unmanned aircrafts in defense applications. VRDE, Ahmednagar, they actually manufacture these unmanned aircrafts for which they use radiators and oil coolers, for which we use CFD analysis to actually it is they are also like the regular automobile radiators, but bigger in size. So radiators, as you might have heard, they are called compact heat exchangers. That is, they are finned heat exchangers. Cooling of gas turbine blades. So this is another important application. So external flow. So only I've cited only a few applications. External flow, drag and lift in flow or automobiles and boats. Boats also I mentioned because boats are toppled more easily. Of course, even automobiles can be toppled. You might have heard about the Santro car of Venkatraghavan being toppled, the first Santro car. Surface heating of aircrafts and rockets moving at high velocities. So when in jet planes and aircrafts, due to high velocity, the surface is becomes hard due to viscous heating. So hence, this is another example of external flow. Surface stress distribution in turbine blades, due to actually these turbine blades have included both in internal flow and external flow because they are modeled in both ways. So here I've put stress on the surface stress distribution because the turbine blades are subjected to thermal stresses, or even the pressure, how much pressure they are subjected to. This has to be calculated even in the absence of even heat transfer also, because depending on that, the material for turbine blades is chosen by the structural mechanics group. So the fluent group, they give them the input, the pressure, the stress they can be subjected to, and also the temperature. Depending on that, the material for turbine blades are chosen by the structural group. The structural group, they do the material selection. Other important problems. So the problems not covered in those I'm writing here. CFD modeling of combustion. So this is a very important problem, even found by Westig and Malal Shakra. This book I'll give you later, the reference details. They devoted a separate chapter for CFD modeling of combustion in their textbook. They explain the theories and solution methods for combustion engineering problems. Mass transfer and reaction engineering. So these is another class of problems. Both involve mass transfer. That is mass transfer with reaction, without reaction, you can say. An additional governing equation is required for mass. This is what I was talking about. You can consider a simple example: naphthalene ball or naphthalene tube. It is diffusing into air. So there, the naphthalene concentration near the naphthalene solid is more, and away from the solid, that is in the bulk air, it is low. So there is a concentration difference which actually governs the mass transfer from naphthalene to air. So such equations are also there. However, we are not concerned with those equations right now. Conjugate problems. Several industrial applications require combining of two different problems. So here, what I want to lay stress on is that, there is conduction in the solid and convection in the fluid. Both can be together, both can exist together. Then we have to consider both the processes simultaneously, parallelly. An example, a good example, all of you know, is in fin heat transfer, the heat conduction within the fin and the convection heat transfer from the fin to ambient air occur parallelly. So from the base of the fin, the heat is conducted along the fin, into the fin, along the length of the fin. At the same time, at every point on the surface of the fin, the heat is released to ambient atmosphere, ambient air. So both are interconnected. So such problems, they are called conduction problems. These two again, in which the interaction between these two phenomena is considered in the analysis. So here, actually in textbooks, you assume heat transfer coefficient when you solve fin problem. But in regular CFD analysis, you don't assume heat transfer coefficient. Actually, you find the heat transfer coefficient in analysis. Conjugate problems. Again, certain other problems which are conjugate in nature. So some more problems I have just listed. The thermal stresses in turbine blades are developed due to surface heating. So both here must be considered. The yield strength in rotating turbine blades, actually most of you know that the turbine blades, when they rotate with 20 to 30 or 40 or even higher speeds, then what we find is at atmospheric pressure, atmospheric temperature, the turbine blades are okay. But when they are heated to higher temperatures, very high temperatures, and at higher rotating speeds, then the turbine blades, they cannot sustain. The blades, they come out of the rotor. So the reason is the yield strength. If you look at the yield strength, it's a strong function of temperature. It greatly decreases after a certain increase in temperature. So those things can be found again by CFD analysis. Most chemical reactions occur in the pores of a catalyst. So this is another example involving mass transfer and reaction reaction engineering. In the chemical reactions, or most reactions are catalyzed. They occur in the presence of a catalyst. Catalyst is a solid, a porous solid. So the reactants, they enter into the pores. There the reaction takes place and products come out. So for the bulk stream which flows over the catalyst, it contains the reactants, and again after the reaction is over, the products join the come out and join the bulk stream. However, the main reaction is taking place in the catalyst. So catalyst is the main important client here. So a CFD model must consider the catalyst and bulk phases in a conjugate manner. Reynolds averaged Navier-Stokes equations. Well, I was telling you that the regular Navier-Stokes equations are applicable only for laminar flow. But most industrial problems are turbulent only. So in the case of turbulent flows, as I said, these Reynolds stresses are used to, that is, in addition to the laminar stresses, the Reynolds stresses are added to the equation additionally, and of course this term is negligible in turbulent flow. I mean, the magnitude, if you look at, is negligible, but this is considerable. This becomes considerable. So U momentum. So these are the stresses. Actually, Frankel suggested also to replace this minus rho u prime v prime, this one, by an equivalent eddy diffusivity. Eddy diffusivity has the same viscosity mu by rho. So here you have this mu by rho. So this is very similar to this term, that is dou by dou x of that is this epsilon m, what we call epsilon m is similar to the viscosity, kinetic viscosity. So the epsilon is called eddy diffusivity or eddy viscosity. However, that I have not shown here because that concept is not used in professional calculations. These are the equations which are used. So to determine those Reynolds stresses, so these are called normal, and these are shear stresses. So two types of stresses are there. Because shear stresses are more damaging. So the ANSYS fluent, if you look into the ANSYS fluent, it gives us many turbulence models. You only have to pick up a turbulent model, but you have to make a study of different turbulent models before doing that, because you do not know which turbulent model to pick up. Our tomorrow morning lecture, so you will learn about these various turbulence models in detail. So that lecture will be very useful to you, I suppose. However, what we normally do is we use first the standard K epsilon model, or more popularly, that is actually he have mentioned in the brackets. Depending on your Reynolds number, you can choose the proper K epsilon model. Is what we have identified. So we use two or three models, at least two models, and obtain results. So you compare with the experimental data or some data, which standard data which you have. So for which model your final results the tally better, you keep that model. So this is one way to do it. Normalization of momentum and energy equations. So here is a very important aspect. When you are solving the equations, then you find that you are dealing with many variables, u, v, w, p, t, and similarly properties rho, mu, cp, and k. So these properties said, and for example, rho is the order 1000 for water, k is a fraction, and mu is still less. So similarly, u, v, w, the orders of magnitude are not the same, u, v, w. So in such cases, what happens is it becomes difficult to actually we have to prescribe accuracies in obtaining iterative solutions, final solutions. How do you fix accuracies when the different variables are having different values. If a value is 20, then even 21 or 22 is acceptable. But like that it comes. I hope you understood my point. So for this reason, normalization is done. Normalization means using dimensionless variables instead of the original or actual variables in the equations. So the normalized variables are so chosen that, for example, the u velocity is high and v velocity is less. Then in the next slide you will see that the v velocity is multiplied with Reynolds number to boost up its value, like that. Also, they are dimensionless. Their magnitudes are not too high or not too low. This would avoid convergence problems. So this is mainly done to avoid convergence problems. See, I am showing this equation. The names are the same, but each is having a plus superscript. It is the same equation, U momentum equation as shown. But here the dimensionless variables and parameters are like this. So actually, as you have observed, the density, viscosity, they are not assumed to be constant. They are also variables. They are functions of temperature. So they are also normalized, rho by rho naught. So for normalization, you consider the properties at inlet, rho naught, mu naught, divide rho by rho naught. So you use inlet velocity, diameter. See here, x plus is normalized as x is normalized with by dividing with d, and is called x plus. So here y plus, it is multiplied with re naught. So it is done because, okay, here actually I've written wrongly. Here this is multiplied with re naught. This is also multiplied with re naught. Actually, I have copied this, so I forgot. The copy paste is a bad habit. So here re naught is there. Here also re naught is there. But here re naught is there because u is large. V, because it is small, we multiply it with re naught. Here also re naught. So G also is normalized. The re naught is the inlet velocity, inlet Reynolds number. So similarly, the energy equation is also normalized, as you can see. So here, of course, I am giving you the notes. So you'll have the notes. So this is the reference book, An Introduction to Computational Fluid Dynamics, a Finite Volume Method by Westig and Malal-Sakran. So this is a very good book. This is my reference book. Solution of fluid flow problems. The problems of internal flow through ducts are solved using simple algorithm. Simple algorithm is a very famous algorithm which is used in ANSYS, Fluid, and many other softwares for solving fluid flow problems. This simple algorithm is developed using finite volume method. So the finite volume method has become popular because of the simple algorithm. So the simple algorithm earlier, in very olden days, was also written using finite difference method, but it is called MAC method, but it's not popular. Only the simple algorithm is popular. The governing equations are the three-dimensional UVW momentum equations. So here these are called pressure-linked equations. So for internal flow, as you have observed, in each momentum equation there is a pressure gradient. So they are called pressure-linked equations for that reason. So to the simple algorithm is used to solve pressure-linked equations. So that's why the simple is an acronym for semi-implicit method for pressure linked equations. Simple. ANSYS Fluent software uses simple algorithm. Two main features in simple algorithm are central and upwind differencing schemes are used, and another one is staggered gradient. The first feature, I'm going to explain the first feature in the following slides. That is the central and upwind differential schemes. So, which is a main very important feature used in simple algorithm. So, when you use a software, even software, then you must understand the concept of central and upwind differential schemes even to use a software, because as I said, in the software many options are given, and you have to choose your own option. So to know your own option, you have to know some subject also. So you have to have some background also. Three-dimensional steady state momentum equation. Well, so this is a very large, very complicated equation. So hence we take a simplified, that is one-dimensional equation. So dou rho u by dou x I have taken here, and on the right hand side where no pressure gradient I have taken. So here only the first term I have taken. So this is called one-dimensional steady convection diffusion equation without pressure gradient. So this is our candidate for solution. So here let me tell you that this rho u is a coefficient and this u is a variable here. So here u is a variable. Now the convection diffusion equation, as I was telling earlier, even the energy balance equation is a convection diffusion equation. So if you replace this u with t here, then this becomes one-dimensional steady state energy balance equation without heat source, of course, without heat source. So what I am going to do is I am going to assume a general variable phi, which replaces, which can be thought of as either u or t. So in this fashion, d by dx of rho u phi, d by dx of here also gamma. I have said mu here and k here. So I have assumed a gamma general variable, and here phi. So for u momentum equation, phi is equal to u and gamma is equal to mu. Phi is T temperature and gamma is thermal conductivity. Of course, here instead of rho, you must have rho Cp here. Then it becomes energy balance equation. So this method is equally viable, suitable, or applicable to solve energy balance equations and also momentum balance equations, or any convection diffusion equation, even mass transfer. The set of equations to be solved are, so here this is the convection diffusion equation, and along with this we have continuity equation. The continuity equation also is one-dimensional. So the problem physical model is a fluid flows in a duct of length L. It is desired to find variation of phi along the length of the duct. So with a velocity u, the fluid is entering. So here in CFD analysis, we divide the length. So since we are assuming one-dimensional problem, x is the only variable. So we divide the length L into a certain number of grids. So this is how it is. So this is the total length. So I have divided into these vertical lines indicate the divisions. So so this is let us consider, let us say this is a node, this is a control volume. This is a grid or control volume, linear control volume. So the control volume delta V we say. So here, because it is only one dimensional, we call it delta V equal to A into delta X, where A is the cross-sectional area of the duct, where A is cross-sectional area of the duct. So delta V is A into delta X. So in the control volume, you have this is the one boundary, west boundary it is called, and this is the east boundary of the control volume. So here at the center, this is node. Let's so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nodes are there. Let's consider any node, any control volume. In that, the node P. So we have adjacent nodes, which may also be called neighbor nodes. To the east, the neighbor node is E. To the west, the neighbor node is W. So the same thing I have shown here in a bigger figure. So here we have P, and at P we have phi P. So in finite volume method, the variables are placed at the nodes. So this is phi at P, this is phi at E, and this is phi at W. So the velocity, the fluid enters the control volume with a velocity U. You can also call it UW and UE. They can be different. Finite volume method allows for variable velocity also. So more generally, I have indicated them as UW and UE also. So this is the length, this is the grid size or delta X. So the control volume delta V is A delta X, where A is the cross-sectional area of the duct. Well, when you are using finite volume method, you must know how to do the discretization. So you have taken the one-dimensional convection diffusion equation, or generally I am calling it transport equation, rather than calling it by the long name convection diffusion. I am calling it a transport equation. So the left hand side is integrated over delta V. So the integration is done over this only, over the control volume only. That is, the limits are from W to E, and the control volume is delta V. So you have to understand that. So delta V is integrated. The continuity equation also the same. So since dV is equal to A dx, you can replace dV by, say earlier, I used dV here, rho u phi d by dx, rho u phi dV. So similarly here this one, so I replaced dV by A into dx. Since A is a constant, A is not a constant, but anyway, I've taken it inside. A can be a function of x. So finite volume method gives allowance for all variable nature. So that's how it has become more popular. So rho u a phi, here d by dx of gamma a d phi by dx. So here when we have replaced dv by dx, then we substitute the limits for x, that is for the control volume w to e. Here also w to e. Similarly, here also the continuity equation rho u a phi dx. So here phi. So phi actually, please excuse me, this phi is not there. This phi is not there. Only rho u a. I will correct it, and I will send. Of course, you may actually already have given the notes. You may make this correction. Earlier there was one correction that RE naught was missing in the normalized variables for V and W. Here another correction. This rho u a only is there. So the transport equation. So this happens because of cut and paste. So actually I scold people on that, but I did the mistake. After integration, transport equation, rho u a phi e. So as you can see, sorry. So d by dx of dx. So my rule of thumb is cancel this dx and dx. Then d of rho u EFI. So between limits rho u EFI at E minus rho u EFI at W. So this is what I have written here. Similarly, here dx cancel. So d of this one, the term in brackets. So this gamma e d phi by dx evaluated at E minus gamma e d phi by dx evaluated at W. So this is what I have written. So coming to the continuity equation, rho u a at E minus rho u a at W. So rho u a is m dot mass flow rate. So the right hand side is 0, implying that the continuity equation is satisfied. This continuity equation is satisfied in integral form, because finite volume method has integrated the continuity equation. Now, as such, it is the continuity equation is satisfied. So that is it is exactly following an important physical law. So that saves our actually in the regular method. Again, you have to satisfy the continuity equation, but our task becomes simplified if we include the continuity equation in the original equations itself. So that's what is done in finite volume method. So the convergence becomes rather less difficult. Rather, I don't say easy, but less difficult. So rho UA phi E, rho UA phi W. So it is at the boundaries. No, this one. So the d phi by dx evaluated at E. The d phi by dx evaluated at this boundary E. So it is done. It is written in final difference form. Dou phi by dou x at E is written equal to phi E minus phi P divided by delta x. This is also delta x, because this is delta x. This is at the center. So this one is also delta x. Phi E minus phi P by delta x. Similarly, dou phi by dou x evaluated at W, small w. So you please note that there is a small w and there is a capital W. The small w is the boundary of this control volume. So at this boundary, dou phi by dou x is equal to phi p minus phi w by delta x. So this we write. See, actually omitted that step, actually intermediate step. So that I have written it like that. Then there could have been an intermediate step anyway. So then what I did is rho UA at E into phi E. Rho UA E multiplied by phi E. This is rho UA at W multiplied by phi W. Rho UA, this rho UA, I named it as F. So rho UA at W is FW. Rho UA at E is FE. Similarly, here dou phi d phi by dx at E we are writing as phi E minus phi P by delta x. So gamma A by delta x is named as D. Gamma A by delta x. So dW and dA they become. So here the equation is Fe phi E minus Fw phi W is equal to dE into phi E minus phi P minus dW into phi P minus phi W. Fe minus Fw is equal to 0. So here the problem arises, the difficulty arises that the right hand side contains phi E, phi P and phi W. Phi E, phi P and phi W. These are the variables at nodes. But this phi small e and phi small w, they are the variables at the boundaries. So this actually has come in convection terms only here. So these terms are not solved in the algebraic equations. So phi e and phi small e and phi small w must be expressed as functions of phi capital E, phi p, and phi w. That is the only way. So hence, there are two methods: central differential scheme and upwind differential scheme. So the people use actually they are the two options that are available. So let us see the first option, the central differential scheme. Actually, in central differential scheme, what they said is simply see. Just I'm showing the figure here. Now we have phi small w here. They said simply in central differential scheme, you take phi small w as an arithmetic average of phi p and phi w. That is, phi small w is equal to phi p plus phi capital W by 2. Similarly, phi small e is equal to phi capital E plus phi capital P divided by 2. So phi e and phi w they are taken as arithmetic averages of the ones at the nodes. So this looks very simple alternative. So this is what is called central differencing scheme. So at west boundary, at east boundary. So here in this equation for phi e you substitute that one and phi w you substitute that one. So they are also in terms of phi capital E, phi capital P, and phi capital W. So you got an equation in terms of the variables at nodes. Okay, this will come later in detail. So what is the concept behind that? What is the logic behind that? What they say is a pebble, you go to a lake, there is still water, drop a small pebble, small stone in the water. Then what you find is ripples starting, and the ripples they spread in concentric circles in the lake uniformly in all directions. So the ripples reach. So here, if you drop the pebble or stone at a small w, that is at the west boundary, the ripples go to phi w and phi p equally. In a similar way, if a small temperature, a disturbance in temperature occurs here, say at this point, a slight increase in temperature, say, then that increase in temperature will spread, will diffuse rather towards P and towards W also. So hence, there is no wrong in assuming that the effect of a disturbance like an increase in temperature is translated towards P and W in the same way. So we are taking an arithmetic average. So similarly the case here also. Another example they give is a drop of blue color dye or copper sulfate solution, or any blue color dye or copper sulfate solution you take using a hypodermic needle or a ink pillar. You just put a drop in water. Then you find the color diffusing in all directions uniformly. So this is another example. So it looks very reasonable to assume phi w and phi small w and phi e arithmetic average of the variables at nodes. However, what they found is it is a flowing system. It is not a stagnant. It is not stagnant water. It is a flowing system. When the water is flowing, so the another theory which is called upwind differential scheme, it comes with this convection part. So the central differential scheme explained it with diffusing part of it. This the upwind difference scheme, it explains the concept in a totally different way. Now a blue color dye, again injected here. The water is flowing from left to right, from west to east in this direction. So now we have phi small w, phi capital W, phi p. Now, at this point, at small w, a blue color dye is injected. Sorry, not at a small w, at a capital W. At capital W, the blue color dye is injected. At capital W, the blue color dye is injected. So then what happens is the blue color dye, it travels, it is carried away by convection with water. It approaches small w. So similarly, so here what we have to observe is that if the same blue color dye is injected at P, the blue color will go to small e. The blue color will go to small e, but it will not go to, it will not go back. It will not go back. So which means that an observer, say, if you are standing at this point, then you that is forward to you, ahead of to you, it is called downstream, and behind you, it is called upstream. In a wind tunnel experiment, the same thing, the same concept is used. Ahead of you, it is called downwind, and behind you, it is called upwind. So whatever change is occurring upwind behind small w, the effect of it is coming to small w. Similarly, whatever is occurring, whatever change is occurring at P, its effect is coming to E. So in a flow system, the effect of P is not at W. Only the effect of capital W is here. So whatever we have taken, that this also were added, the effect of IP also were added in central difference scheme. But that is wrong. That is not required. Only you can say phi small w is equal to phi small capital W. Similarly, phi capital E is equal to phi P. So this looks more reasonable in a flow system. So this is called convection effect. So upwind difference scheme, phi small w is phi W, like this. The transport equation which has been obtained earlier. See, this is the original equation. This is the original equation. So in which we have this FW I have written again. I will just explain to you briefly about the method partly, and I will leave it there. You can read the rest in the teaching notes which I have circulated already. So what we do here is we will first consider the central difference scheme, that is phi E is an arithmetic average, phi W an arithmetic average. So like this. So by substituting them, you are getting this phi P plus phi E into Fe by 2. So phi W, Fw by 2. So the right hand side is as usual. Now the rest of the process is just mathematical manipulation. What we do here is we collect the coefficients of phi P, phi W and phi E. So by collecting the coefficients of phi P, so here and here. So here on the left hand side, what we have done is we have seen to it that on the left hand side we have dW plus FW by 2. But actually, if you are for 5W, you look at the coefficients here, it is not exactly like that. It is actually not like that. You can see later, but I'll explain to you the change here. Actually, dW minus FW2 we will get here, but what we do is we add and subtract. See, Fe and FW. So here, of course, I have no time now, but here you have minus FW by 2. Here is there, as you can see. So then I added FW. Then minus FW by 2 plus FW becomes FW by 2. Then I've added and subtracted so that no change must be there here. Plus FW minus FW. That plus FW I've included in this. That minus FW I've written it here. In a similar way, there is originally plus Fe by 2. So here, in a similar way, you will get Fe. So the idea is that this coefficient and here, this one and this coefficient and this term are the same. That's what we intend to do. So this coefficient, we call it AW. This coefficient, we call it AE. So AW plus AE plus Fe minus FW. And the Fe minus FW, as you have observed, it is continuity equation. It is actually 0. However, you don't make it 0 now because you have to only after finding all the values you can put it 0. It will automatically become 0. But actually, it represents continuity equation. So when the values converge, then automatically it will become 0. So the equation is written in this fashion. So similarly, for upwind differential scheme, you assume phi this one and substitute the simple substitution for phi e, phi p, and phi small w, phi capital W. So you separate the variables, collect the coefficients, and you obtain this one. However, upwind differential scheme is not unique. Yeah, till now you have considered only the flow from west to east. If the flow is from east to west, the theory or the logic which we have said earlier will not work. So in that case, so the logic is this. So this one phi p is equal to phi small w and phi e is equal to phi small e in this fashion. So for the upwind difference scheme has two alternatives for u positive and u negative. From west to east, the velocity is treated as positive. From east to west, the velocity is treated as negative. So this is for the when the velocity is negative. So for both the cases, velocity means rho ua. So we always mention in terms of f only. Fw is positive. F is positive. This is one. F negative. These are the coefficients AW and AE. So for the sake of computer, we obtain a general equation in this way: dW plus max Fw 0. So there is a max function in computer. What it does is Fw and 0 of these two, which is maximum, which is more, it will return that value. So here in this case, in the first case, Fw is positive. So Fw is positive means it's greater than 0. So it will return Fw. So dW plus Fw. Here, in the first case, Fw and Fe is positive. So minus Fe is negative. So minus Fe is less than 0. So it will return 0. Now 0 is greater, so it will return 0. So it is DE. So similarly, you can apply the same logic here also. So it will work for both. If you write, you don't have to write two equations. You can write just one equation. So now still we have a problem that we have a central differential scheme and upwind differential scheme. So which scheme when to use? So that is a big question. So for this they have said they have defined a self-Peclet number PE is equal to F by D, rho UA by C, these coefficients F by D. So when we divide this, we will get Peclet number. We will get Peclet number. If this is the thermal conductivity, rho UA delta X by K, that is of course. When it is mu, you will get Reynolds number, but generally we call it Peclet number, considering heat transfer also. So delta X is a linear dimension. So what they found is if Peclet number, this is called self-Peclet number. The self-Peclet number, if it is less than 2, use central differential scheme, and if it is greater than 2, so for the computer also we can give the same instruction. So for upwind differential scheme, for the two alternatives like u greater than 0 and u less than 0, we could obtain a single equation by using the max function. So in a similar way, for central and upwind differential schemes, a single equation is generated. So that is this. So that is this. They have obtained a single equation. So this equation takes care of everything. But here the max function, it compares three values. You have to write a max function. If that is not there in computer, you have to write a max function to compare three values. That's the only thing you have to do. Well, I was telling you that when you discretize, you get the algebraic equations. What are the algebraic equations you get for the intermediate nodes? You get all these equations. The first node at the entry of the duct and at the exit of the duct, and there are two nodes, the first node and the last node. For the first and last nodes, we have to actually discretize it again. Actually, I have not included that in this because I know the time won't be sufficient. So by doing that, we get this discretized equation. Similarly, the last discretized equation. So, so far what we have done, by that procedure, you will get all these equations. So actually this is not one equation, but many equations. For 2, j is equal to 2, 3, 4, etc. up to n minus 1, of course, n minus 1. TD, to solve this, we have TDMA. So this is given, this method is given in Versteeg and Malhotra, you can see. Because actually I have a soft copy of Versteeg and Malhotra also. I can share that with the organizers if you want. It can be found from a comparison of coefficients. See here, so this is how the standard form is. By using this, you will solve. Actually, the solution method also is given. It's a very simple, straightforward procedure. No implicit thing here. It is totally explicit. No trial and error. So this is how we solve the equations. Then we obtain the 5 variables, that is either velocity or temperature, all along the duct. So this is how we solve the fluid flow problem, one dimensional. Actually, I have given three supplementary questions. Write the original 2D study momentum equation. Explain the conversion of this equation to conservation form by considering a 2D equation. Explain the discretization of 1D study convection diffusion equation by finite volume method to obtain the basic discretized equation. So just discretized form, the basic equation, that is in terms of boundary variables. Write the equation for see the central differential scheme and upwind scheme. How that is the this is arithmetic average and this is upwind scheme. Simple questions only I have given. So of course though they are simple, they are the crux. They are the crux of the total thing. Thank you. I have exceeded time, but
Thank you very much, sir.
How can I come out?
Hello, sir.
Yes, sir.
There is a question from Dr. R.V.S. Prasad Garu. That is, sir, can we use FEM in boiler technology and windmill technology? If so, how?
Actually, in windmills there are turbines. For turbines, they are actually the General Electric company. In actually their unit is there in Bangalore, which is originally an American company. They have a Fluent group and they have a structural group. They use Fluent. They use Fluent and ANSYS also. Because they use many other softwares. So in for turbine blades only they can be used for wherever there is flow and heat transfer, it can be used. That's the only thing. What is other example? You said when windmill and
boiler.
Actually,
Sir.
it is not windmill. I talked about wind turbine actually.
Yes, sir. It is windmill and boiler technology.
Boilers. Yes, in boilers actually there are two things. Inside water at a very high pressure it flows, and outside the boiler choose its furnace. So as I have told you, there is a special section, special chapter devoted in Versteegen Malal Sekara. Actually, he also explained so many theories like adiabatic, how to calculate adiabatic flame temperature, and all those things he has dealt with. We can just go through Versteegen Malal Sekara. Combustion engineering is a very important field, and CFD analysis is used.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for your very informative lecture. Here we are ending the session 2 of the day 2, and all participants will be meeting for the day 3 session sharply at 11 a.m. Thank you. I'm ending the session, sir.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you all. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you, sir.